Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and to our coffee times together talking books. And today I'm here to talk to you about all the tea. All the 10 books that were the worst 10 books that I read in 2019. Now, some of these books, luckily, I only read like on a Kindle, so I don't really have a physical form of them, but the other ones that I did own in physical form are no longer in my shelves because I decided to let them go because I hated them so much. And now let's go to the list of the 10 books that were a total miss for me.
It's coffee time!
Let's start with the 2 worst books that I read in 2019, just to get them out of the way. So the first one is Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. So I wanted to read this book because you've heard so much about it, and there is a movie about it, and I was like, why not? It might be something funny. It's supposed to be a comedy, but for me, it was just horrible. It was poorly written, it was boring, the comedy was just not okay. At some point he makes a joke about cancer patients, and that was so not okay. It was not funny, and it just didn't come across to me. I don't know, maybe I just misunderstood the whole thing, but for me it just was not working. And Greg, our main character, was such an a-hole, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So after I finished this and hated it, I decided to try the movie, and it was horrible as well. And I also could not finish the movie, so this story is definitely not for me. The other really bad book that I read in 2019 is Hatchet by Gary Paulson. So I also gave this one coffee mug because I could not give it less. And I don't know, partly it might be because I thought in the beginning this was gonna be more of a horror-ish book because of the cover being a hatchet and Amazon selling it to me as horror, but it wasn't, which is not bad. You know, sometimes you go into a book thinking it's gonna be one thing and then it turns out to be something different, but you still can enjoy it, right? I mean, it's not just that I misunderstood the genre. It's the story about a 13-year-old boy that it is flying to see his dad, and it's in one of these kind of little planes that can only hold 1 or 2 people, so he's alone with the pilot, and they have a crash in the middle of the jungle, and the 13-year-old boy is just left there alone to survive. So I thought, hey, this can still turn into a really cool story. But at the beginning it started being actually nice. I liked, you know, to see how he starts to survive, how he starts to learn how to get food, how to get water, and all of these, how to protect himself from, you know, the rain or the sun and all of that. But then after the first, like, I don't know, 40 pages, it's just started to repeat itself in circles, and it was just about killing animals and eating animals, and it didn't work for me. So yeah, it was just really bad for me. Next we have On the Fence by Casey West, and honestly I had to reread my Goodreads review to figure out what this book was even about because it was so forgettable. It is the story about this girl that basically she's super naive. There's things that are in front of her face, she doesn't see them. It's supposed to have some family secrets and stuff, and you know, when you go into a Casey West book you expect to get romance, but there was no romance whatsoever in this book until the last like 30 pages or whatever, and nothing really happened like at all until the very end of the book. So it was really boring. It was one of the most boring romances I've ever read, and definitely not for me. I don't want to say I'm never gonna give Casey West another chance, but this book did not leave a really good taste for me. If you are a fan of Casey West, or if you know other of her books that are amazing, please let me know down below which ones they are, because if I give her another chance I want to make sure to read one of her more popular or high rated books. Next we have Slender Man by Anonymous. I actually bought a hardcover copy of these because it was so beautiful, and I've always loved the story of the Slender Man. The first time that I came in contact with the story, with the myth, was with this video game that was going around, that it was very scary and you had to hide from the Slender Man. And I've always been very intrigued about the myth of the Slender Man, and I really wanted to love this book and to get a really cool creepy horror story. Also, another thing that really attracted me about the book is that it is written in kind of a media compilation. So we have emails and we have pieces from magazines and things like that, and you know, text messages. So I love this kind of media combination kind of writing style. So I thought it was gonna be really cool and interesting and new. And it was just boring, slow pace. There was no tension, there was no fear, there was no creepiness. You at no point were you fearing about anybody's life, and it was just boring. It took me so long to just get to the end. I was so frustrated with it. And funny enough, this one also has a movie called Slender Man, and it was so bad. It was so bad. I'm glad that I watched it on Netflix and I did not paid to go to the theater or bought the copy, because the movie is so bad. Like, I'm still waiting for somebody that will do justice to the myth of the Slender Man, either in book form or in movie. Moving on with Light as a Feather by Zoe Arson. This one is another one that got me really excited because I really like the premise. This is a YA mystery slash horror book about a couple of girls that play this game called Light as a Feather, and one of them is supposed to tell them how they are going to die, and all is fun and giggles until the girls start dying exactly like this friend predicted that they were going to die. And so they kind of start a whole investigation about what's going on, what's happening, who is this girl. And I thought it was gonna be so cool and interesting, but it was just boring. It was lacking character development. You didn't care about the characters. It was just predictable. It was a mess. It was a mess. Next we have Three Truths and a Lie by Brent Hartinger, and this is a YA thriller that I got for one of the Buzzword readathons, and I was excited about it because it was supposed to be, you know, a couple of friends that go into a cabin in the woods and then things start to happen. I always love those kind of premises, but unfortunately I had a big issue with the writing in this book. It was so simple. This could have been a middle grade, except the teenagers talked about tattoos, drugs, sex, and all of these, but the writing style was too simplistic, and it did one of the things that I hate the most in books, which is spoon-feeding the reader all the information. Like, thank you very much, I can think for myself, thanks. I hate that. It's like, the point of you writing a book is to make the reader question things, wonder, think, you know, come to their own conclusions. You're not supposed to spoon feed them the information. Like, you're not supposed to think, oh, my reader is too dumb, I need to tell them, remind them of things, I need to give them more clues. Stop. So this really annoyed me. The book did redeem itself a little bit in the end, because I did like the last like 40 pages when actually all the action really started to happen. But no, I hated that it was written so simplistic and that all the information was kind of spoon-fed. Next we have Lizzie by Dawn Ears, another book that I was really excited to read, and it really disappointed me. This was supposed to be a retelling on Lizzie Borden, a story that I've always loved, a true crime story, and it just was so messy. The cuts at the end of the chapters didn't connect well with the next chapter. It was like all a mess for me, like this whole timeline, things happening, characters mixed, and there is insta-love that was just why, and it didn't really end up relating that much to Lizzie Borden at all, except the name and a couple other things. So I kind of felt cheated and I really did not like it. Moving on with 5 Midnights by Anne Davila Cardinal. I was really excited about this release and I got a free copy at NetGalley, so I was super excited, started reading it right away, and nope. One of the things I was really excited about is that this book is based on the myth of El Cuco, which in Spain we know as El Coco. So it's kind of the same thing, you know, one is more Hispanic, Latin American Spanish, and the other one is Spanish from Spain, where I come from. And I was excited because, you know, for the first time I was getting a book on a myth of a dark creature that I knew as a kid. So your parents would used to tell you, if you don't behave good, if you're not a good girl, this guy's gonna come, it's gonna take you in his sack and he's gonna do things to you. And so you were scared to death of this creature. And I was excited. And it is about a girl, it's a YA horror thriller. So it's this girl that goes to visit family in Puerto Rico, and when she's there, there is incidents with teenagers that start disappearing and turning up dead. And I thought it was going to be a really cool investigation, but again, it was a story where it was lacking tension, it was lacking more plot. You don't really get to see much about El Cuco, like, at all, and I thought that was the point of the book. And there is a love story that was 100% not necessary, not needed. This story did not need a romance, and you know, that kind of spoiled the book a little bit for me as well. So I was also very disappointed. Next we have The Retreat by Sherry Smith. I got this thriller as well from NetGalley, and I was really excited about it because it's the story of 4 women that go to a sanctuary where they're supposed to be enlightened, and they're all kind of looking for, you know, taking a different turn in their lives because they're all going through their own stuff. And there are so many things in this book. You know, there is abuse, there is child molestation, there is many trigger warnings for this book, and I thought the story got really messy. You're following the story from the 4 different points of view, or the 4 women that are in this retreat. One of them is a plus-sized woman, and I think the representation was not done correctly. I also did not like how they addressed the whole thing of the child abuse situation, and so I didn't like all of those things, and I couldn't relate to any of these 4 women. I ended up actually hating all the characters. So it turned out to be a nightmare, and I really did not enjoy this. Then we have The Turning by Frances Prose. And this book, it is a YA that again reads more like a middle grade children's book. The book kind of starts like a Romeo and Juliet story in which a boy is dating a girl, and the girl's father doesn't like him, so he kind of pushes him to take a job in an isolated island for the summer to kind of separate them. And he goes there and to work for a family in this mansion to take care of their kids. So he's kind of going to be a nanny, and when he gets there, we get to know the story through letters that he writes to his girlfriend and his dad. And I wanted to like this story because it's about these 2 creepy children that live there in this mansion, and he's taking care of them and starts to discover and unravel secrets. And I thought it was going to be great, but the plot got so messy and things didn't make sense anymore. And it was just, at some point, the character was making decisions and saying things that the character would not have said. And I don't know, it didn't make sense for me. I don't know, maybe other people really enjoyed the story, but for me it just failed. And I have a couple of honorable mentions in this list. The first one being Fixer Up by Tessa Bailey. This book, this will teach me to when there is a romance hyped book on BookTube, just to get a, you know, ebook copy of it and not buy the physical copy. Because what if you then hate it? Except the case of The Hating Game that I loved. But this book was just predictable and disgusting in the way that this guy was calling a girl baby all the time, and it just cringed so hard. I did not like it because we get to know Georgie, and all she wants is for her family to take her serious, to take her job serious. She is a professional clown, and then she meets this boy, and she starts to change and becoming something that, you know, it's less of what she wanted to be, and just because of this dickhead, and it just pissed me off really bad. and also the whole end part, they kind of fake a relationship, and the whole end part of the book is like 3 pukes and 2 poops. It was bad, predictable, cringeworthy. No. Can you tell I hated this book? Because I did hate it. And another honorable mention is to 2 books that I DNF. One of them is Made You Up by Francisca Zappia. I DNF'd it at 50%. I just couldn't get into the story. I just couldn't relate to the character at all. I don't know if it's because I was trying to listen to the audiobook and maybe that one is not that great. So if you read this book, because I know a lot of people love it, so if you really think I should give it a second chance, I might try to get it on ebook form so I can read it and not just listen to it. Let me know down below if you really think I should give this one a second try. And the other one that I DNF was Lazathe by A.M. Karbash, and this I DNF'd at 56%, which I was also really mad about because it's another book that the premise sounded so good and it ended up being so messy, confusing, and it's a really good example of how to mess up a book with timelines and flashbacks that make no sense, and you don't know for which character this flashback is, and you just, how are you supposed to get into the story and the characters if you're not able to even follow up with this messy plot line? So the story is about this journalist that likes to investigate, kind of like hunting places and stories like that, and he goes to this old sanitarium or whatever, and while he's getting closer to this place, somebody hits him in the head, and the next time that he gets awake, he's in this hospital in this bed tied up as a prisoner, and he's in this kind of like loony bin, and he's trying to get out together with other inmates there. So I thought it was going to be a great story, but it was just bad. And those were the 10 worst books that I read in 2019, including a couple of special honorable mentions. So let me know down below what you thought about the books that I have mentioned. I don't know, maybe you have different opinions. Please do not feel offended if I talked bad about one of your favorite books or something. These are just my subjective opinions, and you know, it doesn't mean the book is the worst thing ever for everybody. It's just for me they didn't work. So please, you know, don't get mad at me if I said something nasty about one of your favorite books. And let me know down below your top 3 worst reads of 2019. Also, please, before you leave, remember, give the video a big thumbs up for support, and subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber yet, and also hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a coffee time. And if you have all the social media, you want to follow me there, I also have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads. The links to those can be found in the description box down below, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!